The MCU, it has given us some of the best cinematic superhero movies that we have ever watched in our lives. We have laughed, we've cried, we have developed a emotional attachment to the most iconic and prolific Marvel characters in history. But as we have seen after Endgame, some of these movies have unfortunately fell short. In today's video, we will review Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2. And we will see if it lives up to the Marvel hype and will it dictate a better future for the MCU. Coming up next. What is up, guys? Antoine here once again for Project N.E.R.D. Project N.E.R.D is a one-stop shop for all of your nerd needs, and we are back after like almost a 2-year hiatus. We're back on the scene, guys, and we're hitting you with the most powerful video that we can think of, and that is a review for Doctor Strange 2. So, before I kick it away to my illustrious co-host, Rachel, before I kick it away to her, don't forget to subscribe and also hit that notification bell so you can know whenever we come out with a video, because it's not going to be 2 years the next time you see a next video. It's actually going to be a week. All right, guys, so what we're going to start this video off with is talking about our initial thoughts going into this Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. For me, I really didn't know who was going to be the big bad villain into this movie. I think this could possibly go into the good as well. They did a good job about, concealing who's going to be the big bad villain, what this movie was really going to be about. There was a lot of intrigue that was going into it. A lot of people thought that we were going to get a multiverse Iron Man and a multiverse different version of all these superheroes just to see what's going on. I would have popped hard if I would have saw multiverse Black Panther that was played by Denzel Washington. That would have been hilarious. That would have been hilarious. I would have been like, yo.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah. Automatically, that movie would have been an 8 out of 10. I don't care about anything else that was going on in the movie. Automatically, that movie would have been an 8 out of 10 for me. But we're going to give our overall ratings at the end of this video. So definitely check that out, guys. Initial thoughts going into the movie.
I really had no idea. I mean, I'll be honest. I saw the trailer that they released during the Super Bowl way back in February, and then pretty much didn't see another one until I went and saw the movie. It was never really, I mean, it was on my radar, but it was never really piquing my interest, and I was seeing bits and pieces kind of scrolling through Instagram and being on social media and things. I knew we were going to get multiverse stuff. I knew America Chavez was going to be in it, and I know what her powers consist of and how she kind of navigates the multiverse. So I just kind of was expecting some wacky hijinks and multiverse shenanigans, and that is not what we got.
No, that's not.
I'm not entirely upset about it, but a little bit upset.
Yeah,
for other reasons, which we will get to.
I'm more upset because I'm drinking IPA, and I'm not really a big IPA fan.
You just needed some alcohol for this video.
I just needed some sort of alcohol. I thought gin was a little too tough for this. Let's go with the beer. Let's go with IPA. So, yeah, I just started.
Yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet, neither of us were super fond of this movie.
But we want to give it a fair shake. So we're going to talk about, the good and the bad in this movie. But let's start off with the good. Let's get the blood pumping a little bit. Let's talk about what we did like about this movie. And I would say one part that I did like about this movie, going back to what I was saying earlier, is about how they concealed the overall villain. They concealed who was going to be the big bad that, you know, a lot of people say whenever you're talking about CW, DC shows, who's that big bad? To me, that big bad was Scarlet Witch. I was about to say Scarlett Johansson. You know, she maybe she's a big bad somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. But Scarlet Witch was the big bad here. And I would say that Scarlet Witch did well. Elizabeth Olsen, I would say that she did a really good job playing Scarlet Witch and playing the villain
Absolutely.
in this.
Yep.
You know, I really saw emotion out of her that I haven't seen before when she's played Scarlet Witch, and she felt like a legitimate threat. Honestly, I thought the way she played that character, she could have easily been maybe the person that's trying to take over now the universe, you know, being that big overarching villain that brings all the characters together because, you know, I like honestly that like how powerful she was. I'm surprised you didn't see more superheroes in this movie trying to stop her. The girl who played America Chavez, and I hope I'm saying her name right. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think she did a really good job acting there. She's probably to me, beside Elizabeth Olsen, she's probably the one who had the best performance in there, especially that emotion. She really gave off that, you know, Tony Stark, Peter Parker like type of relationship that was going on. She really gave that off, especially towards the end with Doctor Strange. And she kind of opened him up a little bit. Like he was a lot more, I want to say, smoother with her. You know, a
Mhm.
lot more not rugged around the edges like you've seen him whenever he first met Iron Man. Like he was like they was going back and forth, just battle with wits. With her, he was more sympathetic than I've seen him. Even with Peter Parker, I think he was more sympathetic with her than even with Peter. Um, but yeah, you know that, and then also I just love how vibrant and colorful this movie was. They had a lot of special effects. I thought that the special effects were A1. They did a really good job with that. Um, but honestly, that was the only thing that I thought was good about that movie. But yeah, let's go to Rachel. Rachel, what did you think that was good about that movie?
I think we have a lot of the same things to say. I mean, it's a Marvel movie. Obviously, 10 years in, they have their special effects down pat. So their CGI and special effects always look amazing. I agree with you about the vibrance of it. A lot of times there's a difference in color between their movies set in a more cosmic environment and movies set on Earth in a more grounded environment. A lot of times you get just a little bit less vibrancy, a little bit more grayscale kind of coloring when you're on Earth. But so I appreciated how bright it felt and the colors and everything. Elizabeth Olsen was phenomenal. I actually appreciated them leaning fully into Wanda as a villain. Um, and I'll talk more about how I feel about her characterization because there's definitely some thoughts there. But as far as having her as a villain, um, she was intimidating, she was powerful, she was menacing, and I liked it. I really liked the overall horror elements that they had going on in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that they said they were gonna do that like 2 years ago when they announced this movie. I forgot that they said that this movie's going to be kind of more of like a horror movie. And I was a little bit shocked in the theater. But I got over it very quickly because I was like, okay, yeah, I can get behind this. Um, I thought America Chavez was the best character in the movie, which is unfortunate to say in a movie called Doctor Strange, but that I think it's true. I thought she was great. I loved her character. I didn't think she was overbearing or annoying as sometimes child characters can be. So, and I liked her relationship with Doctor Strange throughout the film. And I can't say I didn't love the cameos. I mean, I thought they were great. They had me cheering in the theater, especially one specific one, which I'm sure we will discuss later on. Um, but yeah, overall, Overall, there was a lot to like, I would say, but I feel like there was about just as much to dislike. So
Let's get into that. Let's get no. We're gonna get into this, okay?
we're disagreeing on some things.
First off, Marvel, Disney. You tell me, I'm gonna start off with the horror movie thing. I'm gonna pick apart a lot of things you said, Rachel. I'm gonna pick it apart. First off, the horror movie thing. The only thing that was horrifying about this movie was the script. Okay, that's the only thing horrifying about this damn movie. First off,
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay.
That's the only thing horrifying. Second off, how you gonna say you're gonna have a horror movie and it's just it's literally some Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger type shit, like where they jump and then you play the music, and that's literally the only horror movie factor of this. And then you could talk about, oh, how Doctor Strange out of nowhere had the mentors coming out of his ass and fighting Wanda with them, like when he was flying off in his little when he was zombie Doctor Strange and like flying off and and had the damn mentors flying out his ass and killing her. That was hilarious to me. But yeah, you can talk about that and say that was a horror movie thing, but a lot of it was just jump screens. A lot of it was that. I didn't feel like it was a horror movie. I feel like it was more of a thriller. If you could go in that route, you could, but I didn't feel like it was a horror movie.
Okay, so
okay, no.
So all right, so horror isn't the right word then. But I will say though, and I feel like this is a point that will catch a lot of people off guard when they go see this movie, because this movie is still PG-13, by the way.
Originally it was supposed to be rated R, wasn't it? Like,
was it?
Yeah, originally
I didn't think they were going to go that far.
Yeah, originally I thought that they said that they were going to be rated R. So that's
somebody verify that for us in the comments.
Yes, please.
Tell us if that was true.
Please, keep up a good amount with my nerd knowledge.
Right. Right. But no, sitting in the theater, and even once the movie was over and just thinking about it and kind of digesting it, I mean, this is, I think, the closest we will get to DC level violence and gore in a Marvel movie. The scene where Scarlet Witch kills the Illuminati reminded me of the first 10 minutes of Suicide Squad. I mean, we saw a man's skull liquefy in his head. She took Black Bolt's mouth away. He shot the sonic boom that comes out of his mouth, and his skull liquefied. You can see that. I mean, she threw the shield straight through Captain Carter. I mean,
I didn't even think that was possible in general.
I knew it was possible. I didn't think we would ever see it, but I knew something like that. I mean, if you just think about, it's just physics. That kind of thing is possible if you have enough strength. Well, but did I ever think they were going to show it to us? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was like, I didn't think that they would go there. They would go that deep. I didn't think they would do that.
And I'll be honest, this might be my upper limit as far as how violent I want a Marvel movie to get, because I personally can handle violence. I watch Suicide Squad, I watch The Boys, I watch Invincible. I don't have a problem with super bloody, gory violence, but some people do. So I think Marvel always gets kind of criticized for having that, that Disney bloodless violence, right? Where people can just get punched and kicked and whatever, and no one ever bleeds or gets bruised or but I feel like some people just don't like to see that kind of thing. So I think people like that kind of separation, and I know I do too, that kind of separation between the different superhero genres, where like if I am in the mood to watch something a little bit more dark and gory, I'll go watch a DC film. But if I want a superhero movie that's a little bit more lighthearted, I'll go to Marvel. So I think if they go any further than now, with the exception of Deadpool, I should specify the exception is Deadpool, but that's rated R. So, I mean, if I was a parent and I showed up to this movie with my 13-year-old child, I think I would be shocked. I think I would be a little bit shocked about what they showed us.
I don't think it was that bad, the violence. I do think that they had some moments where it was like, okay, yeah, they're pulling out the monster's eye. There was some moments in there where things got bloody. Things really did get bloody, and I was really surprised, especially the way they killed the Doctor Strange, from the other multiverse, the way he died whenever go into that.
Which one? The creepy one with the third eye?
Yeah, the crazy one with the third eye.
Yeah. He got impaled on the fence. Yeah. Okay.
Going into that, I don't know what kind of Fantasia shit they thought they were going to do here, but literally, you have a
no. I liked it.
No,
I liked it.
No.
Hey.
No,
you don't play. Hey. No. First of all, it's magic. Okay. What do you mean? What are you talking about? It doesn't make sense. This is a movie with a girl who can. This is a movie with a girl who can punch holes through the multiverse. You're talking about that doesn't make any sense?
What
are you on?
He took musical notes off of a sheet and threw it at this dude over here. And you don't think that that's these dudes are supposed to be powerful sorcerers. You know, he made him look like that sorcerer Mickey Mouse from Fantasia that had the little y'all know the little hat with the stars and stuff and the broom, and he had the dancing brooms. That's basically what we saw in that Doctor Strange movie in that fight scene. And the way he died, just you using musical notes. I'm sorry, I wouldn't have played a song for him. I would have took the piano and smashed him over the head with it. That's what I would have did. I know I'm not Doctor Strange, but damn, come on now. Anyway, going back to what we were saying when we was talking about what really is the bad in here, I think the overall direction of the way this movie was doing, or the way this movie was going, probably was bad, and that the script, and I know I made that joke, but I really think the script and the overall creative direction was bad. I really think it was bad, and I think it could have been a whole lot better, and I think a lot of people are going to accept it because it's Marvel. But for me, if we can call out DC for their bad movies, I'm going to call out Marvel for their bad movies as well.
No, absolutely. I think the only character that I really didn't have a problem with the writing was America Chavez. I think her, and honestly, I kind of think it's because they didn't really delve a whole lot into her backstory and her issues, which honestly I kind of appreciated. Marvel has to do these either a 2-hour-long movie or a 6-hour-long TV show introducing a character. So it was almost refreshing to just kind of be like, here's this girl, she can punch holes through dimensions, someone's trying to steal her power. Boom. That's all you need, No, if you want to talk more about her backstory and what she's sort of been through in the future, go right ahead. But for this movie, that was all they needed to give. So I appreciated that they didn't necessarily, and you saw her losing her parents, and they captured all the big story beats in a very efficient sort of way. So I appreciated that a lot. The two characters that I think I had the biggest problems with are Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. Doctor Strange, what was even what is the story?
Go in.
I don't understand. I mean, what is his issue supposed to be in this film? He's sad? People just keep asking him if he's happy, and he's kind of like, yeah, I guess, but I don't really see that as an issue. They never really established that he was a sad person or that he struggled with, I mean, he struggled with things in the first movie, but they sort of, those storylines kind of resolved themselves. And now after he's come back after Endgame, I feel like they kind of just needed to make up a problem for him. And then at the end of the movie, when you have Christine telling him to let go of his fear, I kind of went, what
fear?
What fear? What is he afraid of? Is he what is he afraid of? And then that none of that came into play.
Don't get me started.
In the finale. I don't understand what they were, I don't know what they were trying to do, what direction they were trying to go in. It just kind of seemed like a non-existent problem that spawned from nowhere and then didn't really get resolved. So I didn't care about him in this movie.
No, and the thing,
and I'll circle back to the whole not caring thing, because there's other things to say about that. But then Wanda, as much as I say I like her fully becoming a villain in this, and I do like that, I think that was good, I feel like that was something that they had to do, because I think that they sort of wrote themselves into a corner with this character, which I feel kind of bad about. Her entire character throughout the MCU has been a series of just, I made a bad decision and it got people killed, and now I'm remorseful for it, and so I'm going to turn around and be a better person. And it's just that cycle repeated over and over and over, because then she makes another bad decision and it gets people killed, and then, or people hurt, and then she sort of feels bad about it and tries to become a better person again. And it was just, I mean, we had Ultron, and then we had what happened in Civil War, at the beginning of Civil War, and then in WandaVision we had that, the Hex and her mind controlling all of those people. And I kind of thought that that would be the moment where it's like, okay, we've really actually gone too far here. We should reel it back in a little bit, because at some point it has to be like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and like, you know. And so then here, seeing her in WandaVision, especially at the end of WandaVision, where again, they made her seem remorseful and kind of were leaning heavily into that, well, she did the right thing in the end. So is she really that bad? And now she's a full,
what she did.
And now she's a full tilt villain.
You can't
right,
do that.
Right. And now she's a full tilt villain in this. The first thing that it reminded me of was reminded me of the jump between Star Wars Episode 2 and Episode 3. Like, if you think about the storyline of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, and now disregard everything that happened in the middle, the entire 7 seasons of the animated show that did so much for that character. If you're just looking at 2 and 3, in 2, he's like, it's kind of like, well, you know, he's kind of an asshole, I guess, but he's still a good person, and he fights for on the side of good and everything. And then in 3, it's like, all right, he's bad. It's like, I feel like I'm missing, there's some things that I feel like I missed a huge chunk of story. No, because it doesn't WandaVision left off with her having the Darkhold and looking for her kids, and it's like, all right, that's understandable. Now she's full tilt ready to murder a 15-year-old girl and take over someone else's life in a different universe to be with her children. And it's like, whoa, that seems like a jump.
This movie, to me, it seemed like, and I'm gonna go to the characters that I had a problem with after I say this. This movie, to me, and you made a good point about how Wanda, how they storyline, they wrote themselves into a corner with her character. With her character in general, they did write themselves into a corner. That is totally
right. Because you can't keep continuing that cycle. You have two options with that. You either have to have her finally go good and have it stick, or have her finally go bad and have it stick.
exactly.
And so they chose to have her go bad, and then they had nothing left to do with her. Then she was a villain. They had nothing left to do with her, so they just killed her at the end.
Yeah, and then she even went bad. Even the way she went bad was kind of weird anyway, because you talking about that block of time. The last thing we hear at the end of WandaVision, and if you guys haven't watched WandaVision, this is spoiler alert. The last thing you see is her in a house saying that she's not going to use her powers. But she did have the book in there, and you did see that she was like learning it and like reading it and everything like that in the background. But you didn't know where that was going to go, to be honest. Now you have returned into this full-fledged villain who, well, a couple of things was not answered. How did she know of America Chavez? How did she know where to find her? How did she, get all the stuff that she got into? And they used she used the Book of the Dam as the big plot device. And that's another thing, is that they use those books way too much to explain plot holes that they had in the overall movie.
Oh my God. Can I?
Yes.
I just want to interject with something here. The whole point of the movie up until like the last 20 minutes was to find the book that is the antithesis of the Darkhold, the Book of Ashanti, and then they did nothing with it. It was destroyed immediately.
And that didn't make...
That was the whole story.
I guess they were going for
what
one
do you
of
mean?
those. I guess they were going for one of those things that you would see in like the Avengers, where they would come up with a plan, but then the plan fails, and then they have to improvise type of deal. But it didn't make any sense, because then it got destroyed. But they also said that book turned Doctor Strange evil in the first place and made him power hungry. But then you show him using the other book, the Darkhold, and that made him evil as well. So which, like, is he just an evil person? See, that's the thing that pissed me off. And going back to the things you were saying about characters, I cannot stress this enough. The three characters that I felt was misused and misused and didn't make any sense was, one, Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange, he's supposed to be the supreme, sorcerer. Why is he so bogged down by Christine, who, mind you, and I'm talking about the movies, I'm not talking about the comic books, talking about the movies. To this point, they only mentioned her once, and that was in Doctor Strange. You never heard of her again until this movie, and that is literally a couple of years behind. You didn't hear, he never had anything about that.
And he didn't even really seem, I mean, he liked her in the first movie, but he didn't seem that attached to her.
No.
I mean, they didn't play it that way. And you even brought something up about the alternate versions of Doctor Strange that I forgot to mention. What is this? What are they implying by essentially saying that every other version of Doctor Strange is evil?
Exactly.
Where did that come from? Why are you saying that about this character? Because he's not a bad person in the movies or the comics. I mean, I don't understand what you were trying to say about this character in this movie.
I think it came from something with the What If series. I think that's where some of this stuff came from. Honestly, I'm not too sure, because I haven't watched the What If series. But I think that's where it came from. But like you said,
right. So they had the episode of What If, where he lost. Have you seen it or no? No. Okay. So in his episode, in Doctor Strange's episode of What If, in the first film, when he's in that car crash that damages his hands, Christine is with him and she dies. Okay. And so he goes to the sorcerers and he learns the mystic arts and becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, all in an attempt to try to keep her from dying. And he gets so it becomes such an obsession for him that he draws on power from all these other universes and turns himself evil and ends up completely annihilating his entire timeline. Everyone in his universe is dead. He is the only one left, and he has no one. And that is the best episode of What If.
Yeah. And that's
that episode is the best episode of What If.
That's technically the character that they did have in there, because they did say one of the Doctor Strange went evil.
Right. I kind of thought that that's what they were implying. They were implying that that character at the end was supposed to be that person, but I guess it wasn't, because the story beats didn't really line up. And he played a role in the What If finale also, and he kind of has a role for himself. And I wanted to bring that up too. So let me keep going, I guess, with the What If thing.
Yeah.
So he becomes evil, and then at the end of What If, I don't know if you're aware, but the end of What If ends up with all these other these alternate versions of characters, Captain Carter and Killmonger in the episode where Killmonger was right or won or whatever. Yeah. And T'Challa, Star-Lord, and all these characters were brought in at the end to defeat. It was Ultron with all the Infinity Stones. So essentially, if Ultron had succeeded in building the Vision body for himself, and then he took all the Infinity Stones, and so at the end of that series, the Watcher imprisons Ultron and Killmonger, but we won't get into that. Imprisons the two of them and all the Infinity Stones in this spell and gives it to evil Doctor Strange to watch over, to ensure that they never break out and destroy the multiverse. And that, I think, is a good use of the trope of like a bad character realizing that they messed up. Yeah. Because he sacrifices everyone else for his own wants by killing his entire universe, and realizes in the end when he's alone that this was a bad decision that I made, and now he's going to sacrifice himself for the greater good of everyone else by watching over this spell for the rest of time, essentially. That is what they tried to do in this movie with Wanda, and it did not work. No, it didn't. At the end, when they had her kind of realize that, that did not hit it for me, because at this point, and this is what I'm saying about writing her into a corner, at this point, after this constant cycle of I did a bad thing and it got people killed, and now but don't worry, I'll never do it again. And then it keeps happening. By the end of this film, I had no sympathy left for her. None. I didn't. Even her children ran away. And so they're trying to make that seem like a big realization moment. And it's like, oh, her children are afraid of her. She's realizing that she's gone too far. I'm like, now is the point? This is the point where you realize that you might have gone too far. You murdered so many people. You murdered so many people in this movie. And I'm not saying I didn't love watching it. It was a great time. But as a character, it was not it. Nah. And even going back to the other two characters that I was referring to earlier, I thought Wong and Christine was vastly, their importance in this movie was vastly, like, it wasn't even kilter. Wong is supposed to be the Sorcerer Supreme, Sorcerer Supreme, or whatever you want to call it. He's supposed to be that, but yet he's getting his ass kicked the whole movie until he gets a lucky punch in or two on them, on the little monsters that was guarding Wanda. And then from there, he's just waiting for Doctor Strange to clean everything up. And then that's when he's trying to rebuild everything, and he's trying to train
and do all this other
Mhm.
stuff. And I'm just sitting here like, okay. And then Christine, you know, you made her so important in this movie. And again, she's just a filler character
She's
for
just there.
she's just there. Especially in the first one. She was just there in the first one. And then all of a sudden she becomes this big, like, you know, like plot device. That's really what it was. They used these multiple plot devices to create this thing. But you know, that being said, Rachel, because you know, I think we really need to get into this part is what does this like well, first before I get into like what does this mean for the MCU, let's talk about the end credit scenes. Those two was like a waste
Oh boy.
of
Okay.
time. A waste of time. Especially with the way they ended the movie with a little shock value. And he like got the eyes like got the eye and stuff. And then all of a sudden, oh now he's comfortable.
Right. So what is that? So what is that implying at the end that he's? I mean, what does the third eye imply? They didn't establish anything about that. The evil character had a third eye. So is that implying that he's becoming a little bit evil? Has the Darkhold corrupted him? Is like, what does that mean? It just sort of happened. And then the end credit scene, he did have it in the end credit scene, but
and he's
again, he just seems okay with it. So, I mean, and give me a second to look this up because I forgot the name of the character that appears in the end credit scene. So go.
You're fine. And I didn't know her name. And I just saw her. And I was like, Charlize Theron, or I think that's who it was that was playing it. And I'm just thinking like, oh, it's kind of like how in the Eternals they had the random character of Thanos' brother come out, and that was Harry Styles. It's like the randomest thing.
Yep.
And I'm just sitting here like, and we're gonna do a late review of that
Eternal.
Internal, because there's a lot to unpack in what the biggest issues with the MCU is when you look at that movie, especially when you look at that movie. So what was the character's name?
So Charlize Theron's character in the end credit scene, her name is, for those of you who are not familiar with the comics, her name is Clea. She is the sorcerer supreme of the dark dimension. Okay. Essentially. Don't quote me on this, but she has some relation to Dormammu. I don't know if it's daughter or sibling but she's related to Dormammu in some way. And she is this sort of all-powerful being in the dark dimension, essentially. And I believe in the comics, she and Doctor Strange become an item and actually marry at one point. So I guess at the end of this, they're implying now that they talked about an incursion, which still not entirely sure what that means. They didn't really explain what that was.
No.
Or what that entailed in this movie. They talked a little bit about it in that dimension where they found evil third eye Doctor Strange, where everything was just sort of mushed together. But yeah, still questions about that. And it just sort of boils down to, and I don't want to talk about this a whole lot because I am planning on making this a separate video.
Yeah.
But I think
we will get into this, guys.
It really boils down to the fact that right now we have no overarching story in this universe. And I talked about this when I got out of Eternals. Eternals was really the first movie where I was like, okay, I think this is what's going on here.
Yeah.
And this movie, and then Spider-Man was kind of like a break because they'd been doing a lot with that character recently. But this movie again just kind of reiterated it. I mean, so from day
plot hole real quick. Now that you mentioned Spider-Man, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Plot hole. How did Doctor Strange remember who Spider-Man was?
Somebody asked me about this. It's not a plot hole. Okay. They
How did he remember? Because he said he was going to make
everyone still
everyone
knows
forget.
who Spider. No. They said everyone was going to forget that everyone was going to forget Peter Parker.
Okay.
Everyone wasn't going to, because someone asked me about this too, and they at the end of Spider-Man, after they cast the spell, there was still J. Jonah Jameson in his basement making those videos about Spider-Man being a menace and whatever. So people still knew Spider-Man. They just no longer know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, or that Peter Parker even exists as a person, because all of his records were wiped from the system, I guess, because now he has to get his GED again. So
wow.
or well, he had I guess not again, he didn't graduate, but
yeah.
he has to like rework for his GED. Anyway, yeah, from day one, I feel like Iron Man 1, we knew where this story was going to go. Iron Man 1, you knew at the end of the end credits scene that there was going to be an Avengers movie somewhere down the line. They planted that seed right then and there. So then as they introduce more characters, you're like, all right, eventually these characters are going to meet up and it's going to be their big team up film. And at the end of the Avengers, that's when they introduced Thanos. And so you knew that every movie you saw and every storyline that they covered, even the ones that didn't seem to have anything to really do with anything, cough, cough, Guardians Volume 2,
yep.
you knew that there was a reason to care, because eventually all these characters were going to come together and they were going to fight this big threat. And right now, we have no big threat. So my question is, why should I care about these stories?
Why should you care about the multiverse being teared apart?
Why should I care about the multiverse? Why should I care about a celestial being clawing its way out of the center of the earth that no one seems to want to acknowledge? I'm losing focus, I think, and there's nothing to sort of keep me engaged, because there's nothing that I have to look forward to. One of my friends, when we got out of this movie, phrased it the best. He said, I feel like I'm on a road trip. I'm in a car, I'm on a road trip, I'm seeing all these great things out the side windows. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's neat. But I don't know where I'm going. Where are we going with this? Where is all of this leading to? We have no big bad. We have no reason for all of these characters to ever interact again. I feel like we're adrift. I feel like we don't know where it's going. We don't know where it's going. And I feel like because of that, I'm being more picky, and I'm feeling like I can critique these movies more after watching them for 10 plus years. You have to give me a little bit more substance in order to keep me engaged, you know?
Absolutely right. And that needs to, be established. That needs to be established. Is it, because they kind of did it with Low-Key at the end, I guess, introducing Kane the Conqueror. Am I correct?
Kane the Conqueror.
Kane the Conqueror. But like, what is really going on here? And I think that that's a big issue for MCU. And I think the fact that they have raised the bar so high with how they did everything leading up to the Thanos beatdown, everything like that, where can they really go? Is this just going to be a cycle that they do every 10 years for like, when is this going to end? And I think, honestly, the end games was a blessing, but it also was a curse as well. And that's another video that we're going to make, where we talk about why end games and why that overarching storyline is hurting the MCU in general. Okay, so Rachel, how would you rate this movie on the Project N.E.R.D rating scale? Our rating scale is going to be from 1 to 10. How would you rate this movie? Plain and simple. How would you rate it?
I would probably give it a 6. I I can't say I didn't have a good time in the theater. I did. I mean, I enjoyed all the surprises. I enjoyed all the jump scares. I enjoyed all the action. There was a lot, and there were a lot of good things in this movie, I think. But what really kind of breaks it down as in terms of quality is just these sort of fundamental flaws that the MCU as a whole is dealing with right now. I really think that's the deal breaker here. So, I mean, I got to give it a 6, I think. Final answer.
Okay. You gave me a lot to think about, and I thought originally going into this, I was gonna give it a 4. Honestly, originally going into this, I was gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna bump it up to a 5, only because I wasn't bored while watching this movie. And there's nothing wrong with, like, I was not bored while watching this movie. I think just more of I was confused most of the movie. I was confused by what was going on. I was confused by, what exactly was everyone trying to do here. I was confused by the motives of Doctor Strange. I was confused by why they try to make Doctor Strange into some sort of evil villain. Or, well, not even evil villain, are saying that he's gonna go evil. Like, who's the good person? Like, who's the good person? You know what I mean? Like, who's the good person? If Doctor Strange is gonna go evil, then who's that? But yeah, I will give it a 5 out of 10, honestly. Could I see myself rewatching it? Maybe, maybe if I was bored or
I
something
would say
like that.
no. I don't think
Maybe. Yeah.
I a lot of these new Marvel movies I feel like rely on that kind of shock value in the theater, and you've got to have a really good story in order to actually get me to go back and rewatch it, because that shock value only happens once. I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be jumping out of my seat and screaming seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic again like I did in the movie theater. Okay, that you only get that once.
Nobody in
So
my movie theater jumped at anything. They were
no?
just sitting there the
Oh,
whole time.
my movie theater actually went a little crazy. I was surprised.
Yeah, they didn't do.
Well,
They
I
didn't
didn't see
do.
it coming. Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah, see, then they didn't do a thing. But that being said, guys, we're gonna kick it off to you. We want to know, for our question of the day is, where do you feel the MCU could go from here? We're trying to look for that direction. Where do you think they're going? Please let us know so that we can clear up our confusion and we can, actually see where these movies are gonna really take us and what journey is gonna be on. But that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. I'm Antoine. That's my illustrious co-host, Rachel. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share on all your social medias, especially if you found this video somewhat entertaining and you give us at least a 5 out of 10. Definitely share it. I appreciate that. That being said, thank you all for watching. Have a great day. And this has been Project Nerd, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.